This is Do It for a Living, your source for inside information on the future of automotive performance.
Face-to-face is by far the best. We do 20 to 25 different shows across the country. And a lot of these shows, whether it be hot rod shows, truck shows, four-wheel drive shows, whatever it might be, we try not to do the same ones every year.
What's holding you back from starting or growing your business into what it can be? Well, if you're listening to this, it's not a lack of information. What you're about to hear is all you need to get motivated and start making waves. Do It for a Living podcast details the journey of today's true players in their own words. Find out how they broke out so you can too. The time is now. The time is always now.
Welcome back to another episode of Do It for a Living. I'm Todd Ersley with my Shop Assist, and today I've got Dennis Overholser. He is the founder of Painless Performance products, and they got started doing a lot of wiring for hot rods and muscle cars, and they've, over the years have ended up expanding the business into more products, and I'll let him go into detail about that. But I've known about Painless for a long time. I've restored several vehicles, have used some of their products on various builds, and it's always really nice to not have to do wiring. That's just something that I never really learned how to do, never really taught myself how to do it, never really wanted to figure it out. And so that was always something that was convenient, was just knowing that there was something out there that, you could just replace the entire wiring harness on a vehicle if you really wanted to restore the product. So, they're located in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. So I've actually visited their facility when the Hot Rod Power Tour went by. And so it's a really cool place, and I'm excited to have Dennis on the podcast with us today. So, Dennis, how are you doing?
Doing great, Todd.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, thanks. It's going to be a lot of fun, kind of hearing your story about, what you did and, how the business got started. So if you can kind of just, give us some background of yourself personally, we kind of want to hear, where you grew up, how you got interested in cars, and then kind of lead us up to the point, where you started doing the actual wiring harnesses for the hot rods.
Okay. I was raised on a corn farm in Indiana, northern Indiana. And, of course, when you live on a farm like we did, you have to learn some mechanics because something breaks.
Yeah, you just fix it.
You don't have much choice. But went to school, went through all the industrial arts classes that I could take, all the, small engine, welding, all those type things. And so that was my my major was industrial arts. Got out of high school, went to Nashville Auto Diesel College for a semester, and I got my draft notice. Well, that wasn't very exciting. So I ended up enlisting in the Air Force. And all the time I've been in high school and everything, I don't know, there was something fascinating about electrical stuff. I got one of the little kits from Allied, built a little radio and some things like that. So my aptitude was pretty high in electronics. So they put me in electronics school in the Air Force. And then I found out that they were going to put me in a missile silo, and I said, that ain't going to work.
Oh, jeez. God.
I was not excited about going to Minot, North Dakota. But anyways, so I had a discussion with my commanding officer, and he wasn't real pleased with it, but we had this discussion that I didn't want to be in electronics. I wanted to be in auto mechanics. I wanted to work in the vehicle maintenance.
Mm-hmm.
So he made me a deal. That's kind of a neat story. He made me a deal. He said, okay, Airman, I'm gonna transfer you to the 48th Squadron from the 60th Squadron, and you'll go through school. But if you're not at the top of your class, you're going to be walking a dog for the next 3.5 years.
Okay.
And so went to the school at the same Air Force Base in Chanute, in Illinois, and graduated number 2 in my class. I had a 95 average, and the guy that beat me had a 96 average. So kept the commanding officer.
That's good.
So went to Bitburg, Germany for 18 months. As worked on mostly aircraft tugs. It was interesting. Had a lot of F4s, of course this is during Vietnam, so a lot of F4s, 101s and so forth. And then after 18 months in Germany, I went to Travis, which is outside of Fairfield, California, Northern California, for a year. And there it was a military airlift base. They were flying the C-141s to Vietnam. So we were working on, I ended up working in a machine shop, but I made mostly parts for forklifts, different pins and bushings and all kinds of stuff, because they were using all the forklifts to load all these 141s with cargo, ammunition,
Mm-hmm.
whatever it was. So that was interesting. Got out and came back home, back to Indiana, worked in a little garage, and wasn't doing real well. So I met a girl in Kokomo, and her mom lived in Fort Worth, Texas.
Okay.
So we got together and we came down to Fort Worth, and jobs in Kokomo, in northern Indiana, where you either had to work at Delco or Chrysler or some big factory like that.
Somebody that's like supplying the big three.
Yep. So there wasn't much else, and I didn't really wasn't really what I wanted to do. Let's just put it that way.
Mm-hmm.
So came to Fort Worth, and we were here a day or two, and I got a Star Telegram, was reading it, Fort Worth paper, and there was page after page of ads for help wanted. I says, look at this.
Oh, well, that's easy. Yeah.
Yeah. And this was in, I'm going to say it was January or February. And in May, we got married in March, and in May we moved to Fort Worth. And I was here about a week and seeing an advertisement for the local Ford tractor dealer looking for a mechanic. So I went and applied on a Tuesday, went to work Thursday, and worked there 20 years. And as a line mechanic in the first, then I became a service manager and so forth. So
you kind of worked your way up at that facility.
Right. And all this time, we can step back in time just a moment. And back in '63, I worked unloading fertilizer cars with my girlfriend's father at the time. And I bought a 33 three-window coupe, Ford, no fenders, no engine. And so, bought an engine, got a transmission, and, the time goes on. About a year later, I had the only hot rod in the county at the time. And so it had a little flathead with two deuces. So that got me started in the hot rod business. And I've had a multitude of cars over the years. Everything from a little car like that one to I've had a nostalgia slingshot dragster. I used to have a Morse Minor with a V8 in it, where I run D gas back in the day, and all those cars needed wiring. And once again, I wasn't anybody to get it to do it, so I had to do it myself. And with all the schooling that I went through and so forth, that helped a lot. And I'd been in Texas for about 2 years, and I had the GI Bill, so I decided to take a 2-year course in DeVry electronics.
Mm-hmm.
So I did that. So that really opened up a lot of opportunities for me to put something together. And so did that, continued working on hot rods for myself and other people and wiring them and so forth. And then as time goes on, I spent a long time. I spent 11 years with the National Street Rod Association, so I got to know a lot of things and what's available in the marketplace, what's not available, who's selling what, and so forth. So that kind of worked its way into the decision that in 1989, there was a gentleman in Fort Worth that had a wiring harness company, and he was making wiring harnesses for the van conversion industry. All the lights and the sound systems.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so the conversion vans, I guess.
All the conversion vans, yeah. That's what he was doing. Well, he was looking for someone to go to work for him to design stuff for the hot rod industry. Well, a mutual friend told me about it, so I went over and talked to Jim about it, and I said, "Yeah, I can do that." He said, "Well, I got all the stuff here. Just see what you can do." So I worked lots and lots of nights after I got off from.
So you were still doing the tractor job full time?
Yeah, I'm still doing the tractor job full time, and so made the first prototype and introduced it in March of '90, and in April of '90 we built. It went well because it was at a indoor car show, like World of Wheels type show,
Mm-hmm.
and so a lot of people seen it. So,
and was this a wiring harness for like one specific vehicle?
It was a universal type harness, and it happened to be in a '37 Ford 4-door cabriolet. In other words, one of the old tub cars.
Okay.
No top, just 4 doors and an empty hole in the middle.
So you had just a panel, like a fuse panel or something, mm-hmm. and then just a bunch of wires that go to, lights and horns and
right. And they were all exposed, going through the car because there's no interior or nothing.
Oh, yeah.
So that worked out pretty good. So we decided, okay, this is it. So we got it all put down on paper, how many feet of wire it's going to take, all the different things you have to do to go into production. And we went into production and made 5. And I took 3 of them to the paint swap meet and sold them, probably the first 4 hours I was there.
So you're just like, hey, are you working on a project? Do you need wiring? Well, here's this kit that you can cut down to length, huh?
That's exactly what it was. So did that, came back, made more. And we went to the Street Rod Nationals in 1990, and had 10 or 12 with me and sold them all the first day. So that's kind of how it got started. And then June 1 of 1990, I quit the tractor business and all the benefits and everything, yeah. and the salaries, and went to work for Jim, building these harnesses.
So was there like a tipping point, that you were like, okay, if we get to this many harnesses a week, I'm going to quit? Or was it just like, this is going to be a passion-driven decision and I'm going to go for it?
It was a little of both, believe it or not. We needed to have enough to where it would carry some salary. But then when I quit the tractor dealership, I had some investment there, and I got some of that back. So I had some money in the bank to kind of hold me over. But in August, the Gulf War broke out, and that just changed everything. The van conversion industry basically stopped.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And so there went the bread and butter of the company. Now we're solely depending on what I can design and build for the hot rod people. And what really ended up happening was the company basically went bankrupt. We didn't file bankruptcy. But that's basically what happened. We reorganized in November of 1990, same bank, but just a total reorganization. And he says, you got to change your name, and you're going to have to do some partnership work here and so forth. So Jim and I became partners and changed the name. And originally it was Weatherford Industries, but we changed the name to Perfect Performance Products.
Okay, Perfect Performance Products. Okay, gotcha.
Yep, that's what it was, and it still is today.
Oh, okay. So Painless is a DBA now?
Yes, okay. It is. But I'll tell you that story here in just
a second.
Okay. So we did that, and everything got going good. And so being the person that's involved with NSRA and Good Guys and all that kind of stuff, I knew a lot of people, met a lot of people. And one of the people that I met, his name was Tex Smith. And people knew Tex because he used to work for Hot Rod Magazine. And then he published his own magazine called Hot Rod Mechanics. It was a quarterly magazine, and it was all about how-tos. And it was pretty cool. So he found out that I was in the wiring harness business, and he says, tell you what, would you send me one of your wiring harnesses, and for that, I'll give you a full-page ad in my upcoming issue of Hot Rod Mechanics. I said, sure, because he was building a $1 a pound roadster. Texas, a little
Okay.
he was thrifty. Let's put it that way. So he didn't want the car to cost any more than
what it weighed, huh?
What it weighed, correct. So I sent him a harness. In the October issue of '91, got the magazine, and there was the ad, full-page ad. And sure enough, at the top it said, the header at the top of the ad said Painless Wiring. And so we took that and ran with it.
So he was using it as that was the title, like the marketing slogan, or just of what he was doing was, this is painless.
Yes.
Yes. Oh, okay.
So we took that, and Gordon, our sales manager at the time, took that black and white logo that Tex made, added colors and outlines and so forth, and the orange and the reds, the blacks, everything that we're known for today. And we still use that same logo today. And but that's how we got the.
So that's how that stuck, huh? Just kind of by chance, not even a recommendation or thinking about it. It's like, oh, well, that's true. We do want to make this painless. It's a descriptive company name.
Correct. So it's been very well. It's done very well for us. We've promoted it and promoted it and promoted it, and so anyways, that's kind of where we're at today. We now back in about I'm going to say 99 or 2000, we changed the logo just a little bit to say Painless Performance Products, and we did that because we were starting to make some bracketry, and we were selling some different.
Okay, not just wiring.
Not all wiring like it started out to be, and so Painless Performance, that would kind of encompass everything that we were doing. So it worked out okay.
Gotcha.
Still use Painless Performance today.
Very cool. So can you kind of run us through the ramping up of the business? So for employees and space and, commitments going from you and was it Jim, starting the business, I guess, him starting it and then you coming on board and then renaming it. So what was the next step after that, kind of the, hiring people and moving into specific, spaces?
When we reorganized and in November of '90, we went into a little warehouse, used store type place. And it was a roll-up door, a walk-in door, an office, and 1,200 square feet. That's where we started. There was 5 of us. It was Jim and I and Dina, our plant manager. She had been brought in, and then 2 other ladies that were working, that had worked with Dina, and they did the production, the shipping, and all that kind of stuff. We were in that building for, from 90 through 94.
Okay.
Started out with 1,200 square feet. I don't know. We had 6 or 8 of those cubicles when we just ran out of room and got bigger. In 95, we moved into a building on the west side of Fort Worth that used to be an AT&T building. So we modified it, and then we were in 15,000 square feet. Man, we'll never fill this up. Yeah, right.
So it was from like 1,200 to 15,000?
Yeah, in a little less than 5 years.
Okay, yeah, it's a pretty big jump.
So we were there in the 15,000 square foot building, and it didn't take us a year, and it was full, because the more we were expanding, the more different machines that we were required to have, and some different things. So 2000 or 2001, Jim decides to make a left turn with the company.
Okay.
And,
a pivot, huh?
Yeah. He decided the company, we needed to expand and, into different markets and, a lot of pie in the sky stuff. So he buys the Rivertown Button and Ribbon Company. They made all of the buttons for, that you'd wear for elections. When you go to a car show, you wear a button, you get in and out of the car shows. Ribbons, track ribbons, those type of things.
Okay.
Just anything with a button or ribbon, they made them. And it took a lot of space to do that. So what we did was we had to find a building big enough to house both companies.
Okay.
So we found this building where we're currently in today and moved into it 2001, I think. It's on the east side of downtown Fort Worth off Beach Street. It's 43,000 square feet, 2-story. And we were in here until 2004 when the Button and Ribbon Company just went defunct.
Just didn't make any sense, huh?
Just did not work. I mean, it was awful. It was awful. But Painless survived. So we stayed in the building, and there was a change in leadership. Let's just put it that way. We had some investment people decided that Jim's left turn was not good for Painless, and there had to be a change. So at that point in time, Adrian Murray was our national sales manager. He had come from Edelbrock, and so it was all agreed that Adrian would take over as president. Jim is out of the business, and we were purchasing his stock. And then I remained as executive vice president. And Debbie Attaway, at the time, had been with us since 91 as our CFO. She remained as well. And we started all over, basically. And we started from the ground up one more time.
So did you not want to become the president?
Well, everybody wants to have that title.
But do they want to do the work that comes along with it?
There's several different ways to look at it. Number one, there is nothing in this business I have not done in the Painless business. I've been the president, didn't have the title, but all those different things. But here's the way I had to look at it. If you're the president of the company, you need to be at the company, running the company, taking care of things, and so forth. I myself and sales manager and some other people, we had to be on the road all the time, doing shows, SEMA shows, hot rod shows of all kinds. So when you're on the road, you can't take care of the company. So you have to make that decision. So I continued to go with the executive vice president and stockholder on the board of directors and so forth. And Adrian was running the day-to-day business, and it worked out very well.
Okay.
And that's where we're at today. He's still a vice president. In 2011, I turned 66 and a half, and so I said, well, maybe it's time for me to gather up a little Social Security here and take it easy for a while. So I did. I stepped aside, but I continued to work for the company, doing shows and events and so forth. And that's what I'm still doing today. I still supplement my Social Security a little bit with some items here with the company, and I enjoy travel. I enjoy seeing the people that I know all over the country and physically all over the world, and just having a great time.
That's very good. So kind of wanted to touch a little bit on some of the the negative aspects of trying to grow the business. Can you think of any point where you kind of doubted yourself and thought, oh my gosh, like, what if this doesn't work? And then how did you, get past that feeling and work through it?
Well, the biggest one was, when the Gulf War broke out. My gosh, what are we going to do now? And, because I was used to having a hefty paycheck and benefits, but it was it was just all gut. Just had to do it one way or another. So we all hunkered down, and thank heavens, I had a little money in the savings and so forth. So I did. There were several weeks I did get a paycheck, but it all worked out. And sometimes I wonder why.
So it's kind of those, just dedication and devotion to the business is what kind of got you guys through it then.
Yeah, that, and we had a lot of people. A lot of our customers helped us along the way as well. They knew if we were really hurting and so forth, they would place in extra orders just to, keep our people busy, so we can make payroll, that kind of stuff. And that helped a lot. Really, really did help.
Well, what about, something right now? What's something that you guys are doing right now that's got you really fired up?
Believe it or not, we got into the business in the hot rod business and expanded into some fuel injection systems and so forth. And then, 95, 96, something like that, we had the opportunity to buy some tools from General Motors to build our own fuse blocks and stuff like that. So we did. And one of the main fuse block we got was the tool was for the fuse block for the Jeeps, the CJs. I said, look at this. Hey, we can get in the four-wheel drive market now. And we did. We started making some universal Jeep harnesses and so forth. So, and it, wasn't selling real well because the hot rod market was really what was hot.
Okay. That's what you guys are focusing on.
Yeah, at the time. And then it just kept growing and growing and growing. And the graying hot rod market was dwindling. And now four-wheel drive is our biggest market. And we're just super excited about it. And it's one of those things that, personally, I call the four-wheel drive market the new street rod market because, when I was street rodding back in the 70s, 80s, and early 90s, you'd load the kid up with the dog in the back seat, the cooler, and the tent. You'd go someplace and have a great time. Well, then it got so expensive you couldn't do all that. But now, with the people, young kids can buy a Jeep pretty cheap. They can go to parks, rock crawling, events all over.
Go camping, yeah.
Yeah, take the dog in the cooler and do just like what we used to do, only in a different type of vehicle. And it's growing. My gosh. In fact, I'm fixing to go to Moab where there'll be 10,000 of them there.
Yeah, that's crazy. That's an event I've never gone to, and I want to do it someday. I'm just not I need to get back into the off-road market. I need to find myself a Jeep that the wiring's all been chewed out, so I'll get a harness for it.
Yeah, that won't be hard to find.
Yeah.
So the four-wheel drive market is really hot right now. And another market that's coming on really fast is the C10 market. All the guys with C10 pickup trucks.
I think every restoration shop or custom build shop I go to has at least one of those in progress right now. So it seems like it's like the new Camaro. It's just everybody wants to work on them because they're, I don't know, they look cool, and so it really helps from the starting point. But there's so much you can do with those trucks. So that kind of doesn't surprise me once you say it out loud. But that's a cool new market that's up and coming.
Yeah. I was fortunate enough to be able to find a 66 Suburban back in 2011. So I finished it last year, and with kind of an LS style engine in it, overdrive transmission, and all the neat stuff.
Yeah,
just get in and go.
It's very cool. Mm-hmm. Well, let's pause here real quick for a break, and then we'll be right back.
We all know owning a shop is difficult, so we created My Shop Assist to help you manage the various jobs. Whether you run a machine shop, a performance tuning shop, build off-road trucks, or even do powder coating, My Shop Assist can help you. It is completely online and will help you schedule the jobs, log time on each task, track parts orders, and take pictures of the work. You can even export your jobs from My Shop Assist into QuickBooks as invoices. So if you're interested to improve operations at your shop, check out myshopassist.com to start your 30-day free trial.
Okay, so we're back with Dennis of Painless Performance Products, and I want to get know a little bit more about how or what Painless is doing right now. So, how many people are there? You mentioned you're in a big space in the East Fort Worth, and so do you own that? Just kind of tell us about the people in the space that you're in now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, when we came into this building in 2000 when we had to renegotiate everything with the going away of Rivertown, yeah, we financed the building. We do own the building. It is 43,000 square feet. All the manufacturing is done on the first floor, as well as all of the offices. The upstairs is storage, R&D, and engineering, as well as tech support. So all those people are upstairs. Downstairs, we have rows and rows of machines. Everything's done by machine, just like it's supposed to be, like the factory would do it. And roughly, I'm going to say we've probably got about 55 employees at this time.
Mm-hmm.
We've had as high as 80. Back in 98, I think it was, we were building some Corvette harnesses for General Motors. We had to go through all those different things, quality control programs and so forth. So we are a QS 9000 company, so we can do that supplier situation with the big three. But anyways, well, we had about 80 at that point in time, making all these different harnesses. But we give that up, and we've become a company that used to build our stuff, and if somebody local needed 10 harnesses or something for some specific product or whatever, we would build those as well. But now, with the demand that our tech lines, we're out on the road, people come up to us, why don't you build this? Why don't you build that? We have more to do now than we ever can do. So we got out of what we call the job shop business. We're strictly a manufacturer of electrical systems in a mass production form.
Okay, so you're not building any like private label stuff for other people. I was thinking like a Factory 5 vehicle, or an Exocet or something like that may need a wiring harness. You guys aren't doing any of that now.
No, we have sold a Factory 5 as well as sold other manufacturers like that, but they just use our off the shelf stuff.
Okay,
because they're building it to customize it to begin with.
Yep, that's right.
And what we're making is the universal customizable type harness, so make it just the way they want.
Yeah, it's cheaper to get that and then just modify it for their needs than to develop a whole system.
Correct.
And do you, I've toured the facility. Is it something that you guys often do tours of, or is it just kind of when there's like big events or something to go check it out? Because it was really cool to see like the boards of all the harnesses laid out, and with all the lengths and the I guess it's the connectors that are on the end of them. That was kind of an interesting deal to see kind of how you guys engineer and sometimes reverse engineer those harnesses.
Yeah, we have an open concept here. If somebody comes in that's a customer and they'd like to see how it works, if anybody's available to show them around, we will. We have NSRA days, and like we had a deal here before the Good Guys event a couple of weeks ago where we had an open house. So we have nothing to hide. We find that when people come in, they go through the process of how it's all done, see how it's all done. Wow, I'm getting, I thought these harnesses were expensive, but now I see why. It takes this and this and this to do it correctly. So we win over a lot of customers that way.
Yeah, so it's always good to kind of be open about that. Are you ever worried about, intellectual property, or is it something that, the barrier to entry to build a wiring harness is so high, or, the sourcing you have to do? Are you not worried about competitors coming in?
We have a lot of competitors, but they've all been in the business for years and years and years as well. None of them, to my knowledge, have ever been here.
Okay. They haven't sent the spies you at least don't know about then, huh?
Yeah, there you go. But, and then you can open up our catalog, and there'll be 2 pages of pictures of the production lines and all that kind of stuff. So it works out pretty good. Yeah,
I was just curious. Some people, they hold that intellectual property so tight, and sometimes it's unwarranted, just because there's, somebody was going to make it, they would have done it already, or they're not foolish enough to go do the amount of work that you did, to persevere and make it happen.
We've had to write a couple of cease and desist letters. We had a company that copied our instruction manuals completely down to word for word.
Okay.
And that's copyright infringement.
Okay, yeah.
So, but that's about as far as
okay. So that's good. That's good. So what about like location? So it sounds like, you moved to Fort Worth, and that was vital to you meeting the right people. But do you think you could have done better somewhere else, or do you think your success, kind of hinged around being in that location?
Well, see, we have a major competitor or two of them that's in Pennsylvania, one in Missouri, used to be one in California. But the nice thing about being in this area, even though we don't have the population density like you do in LA or New York, but we still have a lot of population. We've got 6 million people in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. So since we're in the middle of the country, we can go anywhere in, just a few hours time.
Mm-hmm, that's true.
And same as shipping. We can ship to California easily, New York easily, but if we were in New York or California, then it would take a week to a week and a half to get, any shipments done. So central location in the country is good. And also Texas has the climate. I'm talking about the business climate, that the taxes are right, the regulations are way down, so it allows us to do business without the main man standing over your shoulder, with his hand out all the time.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah, especially for manufacturing, because your cost of living is significantly cheaper.
Oh my gosh!
Than on the coast. So as long as the scenery may not be as good, but when you can have a 5,000 square foot mansion on some land versus a 1,000 square foot apartment for the same price, it kind of makes a big difference.
That's it.
Yes, that's a good point about being centrally located. If you're going to be shipping stuff, it does make it a lot easier. Now, are you doing any direct to consumer, or is everything through like dealers, like a Jegs or Summit or something like that?
In 1993 we changed from full retail to wholesale only.
Okay.
And it's been that way. Like you said, Summit, Jegs, Motor State, just any of the major warehouses across the country have our product, and it's sold through all the major chains, AutoZone, O'Reilly's. Plus, anybody that sells auto parts is going to have our stuff available to sell. We do a little bit of retail. If somebody walks in, they've got a burn-up light switch, or they did this or they did that, and they need some help, we will help them. Yes,
okay.
Obviously. But we prefer not to sell against our dealers network and maintain that friendship.
Yeah. So if somebody calls with questions, they just kind of I'm curious about how this the system works. If somebody calls you with questions, and they answer them, or you tell them what product they need, what is your next step in telling them where to go buy it? If they're not going to like your website, are you like, well, just Google it and buy it from whoever you want, or are you directing it some way?
Yeah, the first thing we do is ask them where they live, where they at.
Okay.
So, well, I live in Columbus, Ohio. No problem. Just go over to Jegs there on 17th Street, and they'll have what you need.
Uh-huh.
So we direct them in that way. Also, we have a complete dealer network and installer network on our website.
Oh, okay. So you can direct them there and say, hey, here, choose whoever you want from this list.
They just pick a state, and then all these different names will drop down, different companies, installers, whatever it might be. It's all right there for them.
And so what about, the products? You kind of touched on the four-wheel drive stuff. Was that kind of a surprise that's taken off? And, how is that doing, in the big picture of everything else that you guys make?
Well, the four-wheel drive market is our biggest market right now. Unbelievable number of Jeeps, Broncos, the old Blazers, all those trucks are out, and there's a Jeepers Jamboree or some kind of jamboree going on almost every weekend across the country. So it's really taken over from the traditional rod runs that we used to do with the hot rods. So like we was talking about earlier, they're inexpensive compared to trying to buy a 32 or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
So
you can pretty easily customize it and still have a good time with it, and low maintenance.
Mm-hmm.
You probably don't have to put a $15,000 paint job on it. You probably want the opposite of that if you're going to be off-roading with it.
Yeah, spray can works really well.
Yeah.
But that's our biggest market, and like we was talking about a little while ago, the C10, the truck market overall is right behind it. My gosh. Now, we used to do drag racing used to be a big part of our business back in the early 90s because of all the Super Gas, Super Comp, Super Street, all those classes were just booming at the time, and they were all using our switch panels that we developed.
Mm-hmm.
So, but that's pretty much kind of quieted down a lot, and we still sell, several switch panels that
just not as many as it used to be, huh?
Yeah. And as far as the market for the import cars, we don't make anything direct fit for Toyota, Honda, or anything like that. But we find a lot of people, for instance, that the old 280Z Datsuns,
mm-hmm.
Nissans, used to have their fuse block in the console right behind the shifter, and they failed continuously.
Okay.
So we just happened to have a little tiny fuse block kit, and we've sold a lot of those to those people over the years. So just because we don't make anything specifically for the import market, we still sell a lot out there to them.
They'll figure out how to use your products for their own needs, huh?
Uh-huh.
So how about like the marketing of the company? It sounds like it really kind of took off with a friendly trade for a magazine article. How has that kind of changed over the years, with the onset of social media, or is it still heavily involved with just getting out there and going and meeting people face to face?
Face to face is by far the best. Yeah, we have constant contact and all that kind of stuff for all the social media stuff that we use daily, weekly, monthly,
mm-hmm.
with what's going on. But we do 20 to 25 different shows across the country. And a lot of these shows, whether it be hot rod shows, truck shows, four-wheel drive shows, whatever it might be, we try not to do the same ones every year. Like last year I did Syracuse, New York, the East Coast Nationals.
Okay.
7,500 cars. So this year we're going to go to Columbus, Ohio, and do the Good Guys Nationals in Columbus.
And so you guys you're a vendor out at those events, correct?
Yes. So we're face to face with the vendors and passing out stickers. One of the things that we've found that's been very, very good for the marketing side is if people are putting together these rod runs or Jeep Fests or Jamborees or whatever, they all want something to put in a goodie bag.
Oh, yep. You get a little plastic bag with a whole bunch of stuff in it.
Yep, that's it. We get requests for that almost daily, and we ship to everyone that requests, whether it be the bags, whether it be the stickers, whatever it is we might have, to throw in the bag. So we're creating, a name, a brand to those people when they, see our bag or pull our sticker out of the bag that we may never see or never hear of it. We don't know, but at least we've got the name out there in front of them.
Just the brand recognition as many times as possible, so that
absolutely
when they think wiring harness, they think Painless instead of one of your competitors.
And a lot of people say, I've been watching your company, in the magazines and so forth for years, and they'll come to an event, and I was at an event here in Fort Worth, the Unlimited Off-Road Expo last month, and a guy came up and says, I've been watching your looking at your stuff in magazines, but I've never seen it up personal and up close. So he came by and man, he was looking it all over. And he shook his head, yeah, give me a thumbs up. And I think we got another customer.
You got another sale, huh?
So, yeah, recognition, and we've worked hard on that, over the years, doing different events, different sponsorships. Like we've been a major sponsor with Hot Rod and the Power Tour for years and years, and that gets out to a lot of people. Mm-hmm. This year, I don't know if we're going to do it or not, but we've always been down on the main floor at the SEMA show mm-hmm. in the performance racing, and I'm going to suggest we move out of that area and move up to the four-wheel drive area and see if we can see how that develops. So
interesting.
It'll be interesting.
Yeah, the second floor four-wheel drive area is getting pretty busy now.
Yeah, it didn't used to be, but my understanding is that's the hot place to be right now. So.
Well, you can always get two booths. We know several people that do that. There's a hose wire clamp business. They have two booths every year at SEMA. So they do it in the tool hall, and then they get up in the four-wheel truck hall somehow. Yeah. So just getting back kind of to the business sense of things. Is there anything that you find yourself struggling with in business, and what do you do to kind of work through that?
Cash flow mostly. We've got a bank that works with us very well. We have a nice line of credit, and so it works out pretty good. Our business is like a lot of people's business. It's very it cycles. It's up and down during the course of the year. January and February are usually pretty slow. And then March through into June, we're just making everything we can make. And then through October, it's slow. And then Christmas time, it's not too bad. So we have to adjust our inventories, adjust our programming and so forth for production. So it gets to be a challenge sometimes, If you had a business that you're going to make the same thing every day, then it's easy to allocate personnel or whatever it might be, product. But another big thing that we have in this business that's difficult is getting the connectors that we need to finish building the harnesses.
Oh yeah, because you got all different sorts of things for different cars.
Yes. And we're very fortunate to have a company here in Fort Worth that just happens to be a connection type warehouse.
Okay.
That finds all these things for us, orders them in, stocks them, and we can order them as we need.
Wow.
It's unbelievable. Because some of these items that we need have 12 to 16 week lead time. So we have to be very careful in our production schedules to make sure that we'll have enough parts to build and finish whatever that project is.
Yeah, that's got to be tough. I imagine you guys have a lot of SKUs for various, just the amount of connectors you're going to need. It's probably pretty crazy.
Oh, it's unbelievable. we have when you were here, you probably seen what we call a cage. And it's a screened-in area back at the back of the plant where we keep all the individual terminals, connectors, fuses, relays, and there's over 1 million parts of that any given day.
That's a lot.
It takes a lot. But that's nothing compared to TTI that stocks everything. They have billions.
Oh, my God.
It's not just us. They're supplying stuff to all the other electrical companies in this area.
Yeah, so, oh, my gosh, yeah. They've probably got, all the aerospace companies and the TI and all those guys.
Mm-hmm.
Man, jeez. Oh, that's very cool.
It's crazy. It's crazy. But it all works.
Awesome.
And then we have a company in Dallas we buy all of our wire from, and it's all just in time. We can order it today, and they'll deliver it tomorrow. And it's all by color. It's all by gauge size and so forth. And we do all of our striping in-house. All of our printing of the wire, it's all done in-house. So we've got a pretty good handle on everything that's going on in the production side.
I bet, yeah, that must have taken a lot of time to get all that organized and set up.
Yes.
So, just kind of to close out here, I'd like to hear kind of what you think or where you guys are taking the company, in the next maybe 5 years or so. Where do you want to see the Painless products?
Well, we're continuing to build some product that is more direct fit rather than the customizable style that we've had for so many years, which we're not going to get rid of, by the way. But now we're working to build some items that we can't buy parts for. We have to make them in-house.
Okay.
And so we're working with some companies that makes machines that will do some of this. And we've already had some prototypes made, and we're doing some testing and so forth. So if all this goes like I want it to go, and some other people want it to go here in the company, this is going to open up some doors to some products that no one else makes, and then we will have all the priority on them, the special stuff that it takes to make them.
Give yourself a pretty good competitive advantage there.
That's the whole idea.
That's what you're shooting for, huh?
Yeah, got to stay ahead. The lead dog is the only one that has a clear view. Everybody else has the same view every day.
Yeah, yeah.
As the old
sled dogs.
Sled dog. There you go. Yep, that's him.
So, just kind of a fun little question here. What's your daily driver vehicle? Something that you get to and from work that's maybe not, a muscle car or a race car or something.
Well, I drive the company truck. It's a 4-door dually. It's what we use to haul all the displays. We have a 36-foot enclosed gooseneck that I pull to several different shows like the SEMA show or maybe Jeep Beach in Florida or wherever. So that's what I drive every day. Now, when I'm at home, I have my 36 Ford panel truck that I built back in 95. And it's got painless wiring painted on the side. So
actually painted, huh? So that's like a company vehicle.
Yeah, it's got all the company colors and everything. And I've used it since 95 to go to shows coast to coast, border to border, literally. And so that's my main ride at home. And then I told you about my Suburban earlier. That's my secondary one. If I need to go to Home Depot and pick up a door in a frame, to change out a door inside the house, it's got a 9-foot flat bed in the back because it's got the front seat only.
Okay, nice.
So that makes it really nice to haul some stuff around.
Yeah, it's an extended bed. It's like a long bed truck, but enclosed.
Yeah. My wife has a little 65 Falcon, all original.
Oh, fun.
50,000-mile car. So that's what we drive.
That's great. Well, just to end here, if people are interested in finding more about the company and seeing if maybe you guys have some products that they can use on their project, where should they go?
Well, you can go to painlessperformance.com. There is all of our information, our manuals, our products, and so forth. If you got a tech question, it's 800-423-9696. That goes directly to the tech guys, and that's all they do all day long is answer that line. And then we have a house number. If you need to talk to a sales manager or marketing or whatever, that's 817-244-6212. And that's how we do it.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much for taking some time with me today to tell us about the company and yourself personally. It's a very interesting story, and I'm interested to see what you guys are coming up, what your secret stuff is that you're coming up here pretty soon. I'll be keeping a lookout for it.
Please do. It'll be a splash if it all happens.
Awesome. Well, thanks again.
All right. Well, thank you.
Thanks for listening to Do It for a Living. You can find out more about this guest, this show, and even details about what we just talked about at our website. Check out the Facebook page at facebook.com/doitforaliving and tell us who you want to hear from. And most importantly, subscribe to the podcast. Click subscribe. Do it now. Seriously. I'll wait while you grab your phone. Open up the podcast app. Tap the subscribe button. When you subscribe, You help us gain momentum and attract more high-level guests. Thanks for listening, and good luck.